Hey everybody, it's Chris Eads, and on the line is Wootini, here with another Gay Gamer video podcast for y'all. This week, I finally got to see Better Man, the musical biopic telling the story of British pop star Robbie Williams. It's not doing very well in the theater, so there were only a few showings to pick from, which meant that the showing that I went to was actually rather crowded because it was in a small theater and there's only a few showings a day, so it was crowded. But it's tanking at the box office because no one cares about Robbie Williams. Also, perhaps the fact that the lead character of Robbie Williams is played by a CGI monkey has something to do with it. It's a little off-putting maybe, I don't know. I thought it was clever, and it also adds this, fantasy element to it so that it makes it more interesting than your average biopic. And when the movie leans into those fantasy elements, it's amazing. But it also has a lot of the traditional stuff, which is less amazing. I really enjoyed it. I'm biased. I already like Robbie Williams and his music, so I already kind of knew the basics of the story, and I knew the songs that they would be playing. So I enjoyed it. I will say that I kind of wish that there was more music. And a lot of the songs are performances, like they're auditions or they're on stage performing. And I prefer the songs that were like movie musical moments where people just break into song and there's all the singing and dancing and fantasy elements and whatever. Like, it was fine. It was taking a while, and then they finally had a song, and I'm like, okay, good, here's a song. And then there was like a lot more dialogue and whatever, and I'm just like, ugh. And then it hits, he joins Take That, and the rock DJ number is mind-blowing fantastic and worth seeing the movie just for that scene alone. It's amazing. Like the choreography, the special effects, the editing, everything. It's just, I was like, this is what I came to see. This is amazing. I love this. And then it would just be like normal again, except for the monkey, who, by the way, is a very good actor. And I thought Robbie Williams was a very good actor, but it turns out he was only narrating. The character of Robbie Williams, the Robbie Williams CGI ape, is motion captured and voiced by a completely other actor, and he sounds just like him, so bravo on that. Obviously Robbie's doing his singing as well. But the CGI is incredible. Like, that ape is a really good actor. It's like Planet of the Apes level CGI animation. It's really good. Except there's one song, like at the very, very end, there's one song where the lips didn't quite match the song. It was like, I was like, oh, I feel like they ran out of time and couldn't quite finesse the lips to match the singing. But the rest of the movie I thought looked amazing, and it looks very real, and people hug and touch, and it like feels real, and you just buy into it, and it's fine. It might be a harder sell for people who don't like Robbie Williams or his music, but I thought it was a thoroughly entertaining movie. I just wish it had more music in it, and I would have loved it instead of just really liked it. As for gaming, obviously the first thing that I have to talk about is the Switch 2 that Nintendo finally announced. And if I'm being honest, I'm underwhelmed. Because the thing is that it's just an incremental upgrade to the Switch. My friend and I have applied to get tickets to a hands-on in New York City in April. They're doing a bunch of hands-on demos in various cities around the world. So we've basically signed up to hopefully maybe win a ticket to go. We'll see what happens. Of course, back in the day, when I was writing for gaygamer.net, I would have been invited anyway, or I would have been invited to a private showing. But now I just have to take some chances like the rest of the people. But I'm not super enthusiastic to get my hands on it. I'm like, it's just a better Switch. It's not like the previous Nintendo consoles, like the DS or the Wii, or even the Wii U, where you're like, I need to see how this works. Like, how does this motion control work? How does this extra screen work when I'm playing a game? Like, it's something different and interesting, and you're curious, how will this work? This is just, an incremental upgrade to the Switch, just like the PlayStations and the Xboxes, where, you go PlayStation 2, 3, 4, it's just better graphics, better processor, better technology, a bigger, brighter screen, so it's just better. So I'm less inclined to upgrade to the Switch 2, like I will probably not be buying one of them at launch, because like I did with the Switch, because I loved the idea of the Switch that you could play portably, and it's like, oh my god, this is great. So now it's just like, well, I still have my Switch, so I don't need a Switch 2 until there's a game for it that I really need to play. So hopefully they're working on an Animal Crossing for the Switch 2, because then I would buy one. I also, with Disney Dreamlight Valley, I finished the Star Path finally, so yay. And I was able to finally get that house, the little winter cottage, which turned out to be a little too big. I had to remove some fencing because it was bigger than any of the other housing skins. But now I can go back to focusing on friendship quests and story quests with the DLC and everything, and I can play it like normal again, and I'm not feeling pressured to do all the Star Path duties and specific things. I also discovered some new things about Infinity Nikki, where when you would do a resonance to try to get some pieces of the rare outfits, the limited time rare outfits, you'd get repeats, constantly. But every time you got something from the gacha pull that you already had, you'd get 10 of some material, some little swirly mist thing. I don't know what the icon's supposed to be. Anyway, I discovered this past week, by poking around the store, seeing if there was any other free stuff, there's a whole store where you can use that material that you've been collecting to purchase materials and whatnot. Like bugs and fur and plants and whatever. If you don't want to actually go around and collect it, you can just buy it in the store. You're limited to a certain amount, like a month or whatever, but you can also get resonance crystals. Only 5 a month each, but I was like, well, I have tons of this crap that I've been collecting, so let me just spend it and get some resonance crystals and see what I can find. So that was an interesting discovery. I also discovered that, as I mentioned, I think in the last episode, I was concerned because now they have a new update coming, and they shut down the servers for a bit so they could update and everything. And I thought it was going to be another event, but it doesn't seem to be, because they had the Wishing Festival, and then they had the Shooting Stars Festival, and there's all these mini quests and stuff to do. And I was like, this is a lot. Let us play the regular game. You're constantly inundating us with new material. But right now, so far, it's just been here are some new outfits you can try to get pieces of. And I'm like, oh, okay. There's no new quests and mini quests and stuff to do. And I'm like, okay, this is fine. I mean, that might change next week. I don't know. But so far, it's just normal. So I'm like, okay, good. Because I've been now able to do more of the main story quests and play more of the game. And I have still not yet run into any blockage trying to just play the game. I have run into some issues where I'm getting recipes for clothing pieces that I want to craft, but I can't craft them because I don't have those particular ingredients, and I need more materials. But I can't get those materials until I've leveled up and upgraded a little bit more. So I do need to play the game more in order to get those materials, and then I can craft those things. So, but I still can play the actual game. So I still haven't hit any walls there. And I still love, because I got this great skirt, but I can't find any tops to go with it, So it's I keep playing dress up. I found these pants, these bell bottoms, these stripes down the sides, and I was like, these are awesome. And it's part of this outfit that you eventually get all 8 pieces and put together, but I didn't have the other pieces. And I was like, well, I don't care about the hair and the hat and the shoes or whatever. Let me just get that sweater though, because that goes really good with those pants. So I actually looked online to see where that recipe was, and they're like, oh, it's in this house. It's behind this house over here in Stoneville. And I was like, oh, okay, fine. So I went and I found that recipe, and then I made it, and I made this great outfit. It's very retro. I wish there was more retro hair. I couldn't really find any hair that I liked with it. But it's a fun little retro outfit to go adventuring in. And then I got this recipe for this really cool plaid skirt. It's kind of punk. And I was like, oh, I like this, but I don't have any tops to go with it. So I went back to the store, the clothing shop in Wishfield to like see if there were any tops there. And I didn't like any of those tops with it. But I was like, you know what? I have a ton of bling, so let me just buy everything in the store so that I can get that like fancy dress in the doorway that you can't buy until you've bought everything else in the store. So I just basically sat there and bought like everything in stock. And then I could buy that fancy princess dress, which looks lovely, but it's, you know, not very practical to run around adventuring in. I mean, you can, like that's the whole point of the game, is that you can wear whatever you want. But there's certain outfits like that princess dress that I'm just like, I feel a little silly running around in it and jumping and stuff. But I continue to play Infinity Nikki way too much. It is very addictive still, and I enjoy playing dress up. But now that I can ease back on Disney, I'm going to try not to get too much into Nikki, though I end up doing that, because I want to focus some more on Starfield. The thing with Starfield, I have made some progress in it. Didn't play it as much as I wanted to because I hit a mission that upset me, and I kind of went off it for a day or two. Basically, remember how I was saying how I couldn't decide between Barrett and Sam, and who was I was flirting with them both, and who am I going to choose to marry down the road? Well, that decision has been made for me because now Barrett is dead. There's a mission. I feel like it's like the halfway point of the main mission thread, where you're basically forced to make an impossible decision. Do you go to one location or another? And basically, whichever you choose, that person lives and the other person dies. And the game basically puts your two favorite supporting characters, companions, in those two positions. And you have to choose between your two favorite companions. And that is fucked up. And I wish that I'd had a heads up about it, because if someone had said to me, by the way, just as a heads up, when you're playing Starfield, you're going to like some of the companions more than others. Maybe take that companion that you don't like very much, Sarah Morgan, and spend a lot of time with them, as well as the character that you do like. And the other characters that you like, don't play with them so much yet. Get really tight with the character that you don't care for. You'll understand later. Trust me on this. That would have been a good heads up to have, because then the choice would have been easier. It would have been like Mass Effect, where it's like, well, do I save the hot guy or the racist girl? Not really a hard decision, for me anyway. So I was like, this is impossible. And I literally like paused the game and paced around the house, and I was freaking out, and I was like, oh my God, is there any way out of this? And like, I looked online, and there is not. It is structured this way for a reason. And I was like, the only way out of this is to like reload an older save from before the last few missions, and then basically just like, I guess I could, in theory, I should be able to like adventure with Sarah Morgan and do all these side quests with Sarah Morgan and get her to really like me. That way, she's one of the two people, and then it's an easier choice. But the problem is that when I thought about it, I was like, the problem is that I don't know, like I would have to go back a few missions in order to, before I started doing this whole thread that led to this death, I would have had to go back to, I mean, I have a ton of saves. I could have found an earlier save that would have totally worked, but then I would have had to like play for like another like 10, 15 hours or whatever. Then I would have had to do all of these missions again in the hopes that I had established enough of a friendship that Sarah would have been one of those two people. And if not, I would have had to go back again and continue trying. And I just felt like that's not really, like that's really time consuming and not really worth it, because you don't know, there's no way of telling how strong your friendship is really. So like the other thing is that, yes, it's really time consuming and I don't know if it would even work. But then the other thing is I said to myself, look, this is how they wrote the game. This was the point. The point is that you like some companions more than others. You spend more time with them. You flirt with them. You enjoy them. You talk with them more. It makes you lose one of them. That's the dramatic point of this part of the story. So I said, you know what? This is what they meant to happen. I will just go with it. And as much as I do kind of wish that I had gone and saved Barrett and lost Sam, that wasn't what my brain told me to do, because Barrett was over there and Sam was here with the artifacts. And I was like, well, I'm more protecting the artifacts than Sam, but Sam comes along with the artifacts. But it was like, protect the artifacts. And Barrett, unfortunately, had to go because he was out there. And it sucks because Barrett was hilarious and I enjoyed him, and I did not get to do his story. I also kind of feel like I wish that I'd known about this quest. Again, a heads up would have been nice, so that I would have like done more side questing before I did this mission, because now I can't do Barrett's side quest. So, and this game is so long, it's not like I'm gonna like, oh, let me play it again and like be really good friends with Sarah so that I can kill her and then I can do Barrett's side quest. It's like not gonna happen. I'm never gonna play this again. I may never stop playing this because it seems to be never ending. So you're certainly never going to start a new game. Like, that's crazy. So yeah, that was really depressing. So I was very upset about that. But now that I've finished the Star Path in Disney, I can focus more and play some more Starfield, and come back next episode and see if anyone else died. Who knows? See you then. Bye!